1.
Hello and welcome to Money Matters. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg of Greenberg Financial Group, and I get 2 for 1 today. This is so fun. So it's even going to be more interesting than usual, which I don't even know how that's possible. Welcome.
Morning. How you doing?
Morning. How are you?
Doing well. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing great. It's always good to see you.
Great to see you. It might have been a while since our viewers have seen Dylan. Am I allowed to say that you're his son? Because, you know, share the same last name and do
And
kind
we
of
don't look alike at all.
Do kind of look a little bit alike.
Just a little bit.
I'm going to throw it out there. But one of the things I love in talking with you guys is you do have this amazing, you know, family environment. You have this great team spirit about what you do. And that's pretty unusual in the financial advising world, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, we've seen like different families work together and everything, but I think what we do also is we coach football together. We coach sports together. We've kind of been doing it the whole life. He's either coached me and I was playing, and now we both coach. So we're together almost 24/7 for about half the year.
I love it. We've talked about it before, but this whole team environment that you guys create, I think a lot of people can relate to this. Nobody wants to feel like they're just dealing with, you know, one person. What if something happens to that person, or they're sick, or they're not there? I mean, recently I had a health situation go on, and I called my doctor. Oh, my doctor's sick with COVID, and she's out. And okay, now what? Like, who's going to help me? So knowing that there's, you know, more than one person that knows your situation, which you've talked about before, you guys know your clients inside and out.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to a lot of people we're seeing now are having their advisors retire. They're in their 70s or done, but it's their advisor, it's been their advisor for 20, 30 years, but they don't know what to do next. Current advisor either doesn't have a succession plan, or they're just out of luck and they're moving or something like that. So then what people come to us, what they like is that we have the older people, my dad, and then Dave Sherwood, who have the experience, and then myself.
He means that in the nicest way. I'm just going to.
I mean it in a nice way. But they have the 40 years of experience in the business. And then myself, I have 5 years, and then Todd has 2 years, and we're bringing on younger people. And I know he's talked about this in the past, but that's a great group because we learn from them, but then this is the longevity and what our new clients are liking, the idea that we will be here for a long time. They're in their 50s. My dad and Dave are in their 60s and 70s, but we're in our 20s and 30s.
Do you find that younger people sort of relate to you better and maybe become a little bit more interested in planning for their futures?
In a sense, we see with that is the people that are retiring bring their grandkids or their kids in, and they talk to us, and then we're able to relate to them about why it's important to start planning early, why it's important to start investing early, the power of compounding interest and all of that going on for 40 years, which a lot of people don't think about when they're 18, 19, 20s, all the way up to their 30s, and it's a little late in the sense of you could have got started if you were just talking to somebody.
So what's the right time to start planning?
Right now.
Right now.
I would say so. Doesn't really matter what age, but like we show those people, the grandkids and all, is what the power of time is on your side when you're that young, and that's the best thing we can show them.
So talk to me about the idea of just, in the basics form, the financial plan, because we talk about it a lot on the shows, but why do you feel like it's so important to have a plan?
The plan brings everything together. Well, a lot of people have multiple 401ks from different jobs over the years. They have a life insurance policy they might have forgot about. What we do is bring all these questions up into one meeting, and it makes them think about it again. It makes them start finding everything they have, whether it's just stuffed away in the drawer, and they're like, oh man, I forgot I had that. Now we talk about it. We have all these financials into one place, we put it together, and then we show them what it could look like in their projections going into retirement. And through retirement, all the way up to age 90, we can put it all the way up to age 105. Doesn't really matter, but it shows a projection of what it could look like, and that's what it really helps a lot of people.
Because people are living longer, and there is some sort of fear of longevity now, right? I mean, am I going to run out of money, and how do I know how to plan without a crystal ball to know?
Exactly. The longevity is the unknown. And what we always say is if we go to the date of death, we'll be able to plan accordingly, and we won't run out of money. But we want to plan longer than it might happen, because a lot of people, we put 94 on there because that's just what the plan does. And that's the average age for what they say, and they don't want to live to 94. They're about 60. They're like, yeah, I just want to go to about 80. And then they say, we're like, well, we have to plan till at least 94, because then what happens if you do live?
When you are 80,
years?
94 is looking pretty good.
But here's the thing: when you retire, your cash flow plan is like a bell curve, okay? Because when you first retire, it's real low. You're kind of feeling how much money do I have? Where am I at? Am I going to be able to, so where's my budget? And then as you start getting through your 60s and into your 70s, that's when you start spending the most money. And then once you start hitting in your 80s, mid 80s and stuff, you start spending less. So we always tell people, one of the things you got to remember, if you spend more money in that middle part of your retirement, then you're going to be fine. Because there's very few people in their 80s that I know that love traveling around the world anymore. They've done it. They might do a cruise here and there, but they're not doing what they used to do if that's what they like. And if they're not, you got to worry about your health problems. A lot of people can't move, can't do stuff. Because the thing that costs you the most is your hobbies and your travel. You know, you're not going out and buying Ferraris when you're 75 years old for the most part, you know.
And you're not buying bigger homes, you're,
right.
you know,
exactly.
downsizing.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people have their houses paid off. And if they're in that scenario that we've seen, we don't like to say, okay, you got your house for that. But if they don't have enough money and they're pulling too much money out, they always have that thing about 78 to 82, which is their house, that if they retire at, say, 65, that they can always go ahead and do a reverse mortgage or sell it, and that becomes your money because then you're over. You don't plan for that in there, but it's part of the plan as an emergency, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's really why we have, you know, and we were talking about it the other day, a friend of mine and I, how much we pay for insurance, right, a year, on your house, on your car, on your family, all these things, and you're just paying so that you hope nothing happens. You're hoping to just throw that money away, in a sense, because you don't want anything bad to happen, right? But if we don't have a plan and something does happen, then we're stuck, right? I would rather have more information and know, just like we all keep up with our doctor's appointments, keeping up with your financial health is so important. And as we've talked about, people drag their feet on this. For some reason, there's something that holds them back.
It's nerves a lot of the time from what we see. They're nervous to go in and actually see what the results are. But most often, it's better than they think.
Yeah.
But it is definitely the nervous aspect of, I don't know if I've done enough to retire.
Well, that just tells me that now is the time to do it. Don't wait until right before you're about to retire. Give yourself time to figure out whether or not you're on the right path. And that's what you're going to get when you get a financial plan. Other advisors charge thousands of dollars or more for this, and we're giving this to you as a gift for sitting here and listening to us and getting educated. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. That number is 520-544-4909, or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. When we come back, we'll chat more with Dylan and Dean about how to stay on top of your financial health.
This is Money Matters with Dean Greenberg of the Greenberg Financial Group. I'm Spike Spangle. Dean, what really got you started in this industry?
It was because I was working for Ford Motor Company. I had ordered all the dealerships, and I kind of looked at things and I said, this is not what I want. So I went back and got my MBA in finance and investments and said, I'm going to work on Wall Street. I didn't really know the journey I was going to have until later on, 1987, when the market crashed.
Yeah. Black Monday.
Black Monday. The only person in a company of 600 and some odd brokers. I was buying IBM, and I opened a $500,000 account. So they say to me, hey, this is unbelievable. How did you do this? What did you do? I just said, because I thought it was the right thing to do. Down 20%, it was probably a good time to buy, and I was more of a technician and an advisor and an educator at that time. Long story short, they tell me a week later I never owned the stock. The back offices back then could not handle 1 billion shares a day. So a week and a half later, they tell me I don't own it, and I needed to call the client to tell them they didn't own the stock. And I told them that they should pay the client. Next day I came in, my box of stuff was in there, and they told me I was fired. And I went to go see the guy I knew to go get a job. And he said, Dean, I'd hire you tomorrow, but you need to start your own business. I laughed at him and said, how am I gonna start my own business? I only have $5,000. He said, figure it out. We're all salesmen. You educate, you care about the markets, you care about your clients. So I guess I figured it out.
Hello and welcome back to Money Matters. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg of Greenberg Financial Group. We're talking about the importance of a financial plan, and I'd love to talk about the process that we do. Because I'm thinking when I come to you, all I have is a stack, and I'm going to hand it to you and just hope you can make sense of it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's really what it is. We bring a lot of financials together. There's statements, there's their bank account, checking accounts, different things like that, and we show them. What we do, we take it into our program, the financial planning program. We put in their expenses.
Okay.
We put in their investments, any life insurance they have, their Social Security, their projected Social Security if they haven't started taking it yet, and then any pensions they might have, depends, especially if you're a federal employee, you know you have a pension like that. So we put all that into the plan, and then we put in your house, if you have a mortgage, anything like that, give you a little snapshot of your net worth.
Okay.
And then from there, we go into, this is where is the real good use of this plan, is it shows a Monte Carlo simulation, which the Monte Carlo simulation is 1,000 different scenarios and simulations of your financial plan.
Okay.
So it bases it off your expenses versus your investment assets, and are you spending too much, your projections are going to be pretty low. What we look for is to have at least a 70% success rate, and that means 700 out of 1,000 times, it's going to work out your plan, regardless of what the market's returned. And that's what we look at. And if it's lower than that, we have to go into what's called the play zone. And the play zone is, how do we spend less? Because that's most likely what's happening is you're spending too much, and it's going to drain your assets through retirement. So we show you where you take money away, stop spending so much on this or that, or maybe your goal of travel, you have to pare it back a little bit.
The play zone sounds fun, but I don't want to be in the play zone, right?
It can be. If you have a 99%, which is the highest you're able to get,
Okay.
we go to the play zone and we show what can break your plan.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're not spending enough that your assets will cover all your expenses through retirement, through your life. Then we show you how much can you spend. So maybe you're thinking you can spend $10,000 on your vacations during retirement each year, but really you can spend $30,000. So then you're going on more.
Okay.
That's when it becomes fun. That's when it's the play zone.
Look how excited he gets about it. It's like sports, right? You just get so excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so what do you think is holding people back then from making their plans? Like, I just don't understand why we wouldn't all want to be more organized and know whether we're in the right.
Well, like we were talking about in the first segment, is nerves. And that's what we've heard before, is the fact that they've been putting this off for so long because they don't know if they've done enough, and they don't want to necessarily get that answer. But a lot of the time they get that answer, it's a lot better than they think, and they could retire tomorrow if they wanted to. But they're thinking they're going to not be able to retire for 5, 10 years, or maybe ever, is what some people have come to us and said.
Yeah.
And they're like, if we didn't do it, it's kind of been in the back of our mind, it's been nagging us, but we just need to do it.
Do you think that there's a sense of, I might not have enough, like, am I worthy of this? Do I have enough money to have, a financial plan, a financial advisor?
That's been a thing too. It's not as common as the nerves part, but it definitely is something. People think that they have to have a $2 million, $5 million, something like that to come in and do the financial plan. But in reality, what we're doing the financial plan for is to help anybody make sure they're on track to retire how they want to.
But you told me this is a process. So multiple, you call in, you start the process, multiple meetings that get you to the point.
Yeah, so the first meeting is the financial planning meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll go over that. It's a lot of information gathering, and we'll show you obviously the Monte Carlo and the projections of your retirement. And then from there, we will send you a risk tolerance questionnaire, which will get you your risk, and it's a dynamic questionnaire, roughly 15 minutes, and it'll give you a risk score between 1 and 99, 99 being the most aggressive you can be, and 1 being the least aggressive. And you'll fall somewhere in there. Most often, retirees fall around the 50 to 60 area. And then from there, we build our so-called proposal on how we would invest their money if they were to open an account with us at Greenberg Financial. So we'll show them an allocation based off different things, like if their risk tolerance is high, we'll show them a little more growth-oriented. If it's lower, we'll show them more conservative. And if they need a gap, if they have too many, if their expenses are higher than their income coming in, then we're going to try and figure out how can we bridge that gap, which whether it's annuities, whether it's the income riders or anything like that, or can they just stop spending so much, if that's something like that. But that's what we show them in the second meeting. And then what happens after that is if they want to become clients, if they want to move forward, then it's just paper signing.
What if their risk tolerance does not line up with what you would advise them on? What would be best for them in this situation that they're in?
We build the portfolio based off their risk tolerance.
Okay.
We can't, so if somebody comes in as a 30 on the risk, that's pretty conservative. We're not going to build them a growth-oriented portfolio for a 70 number, because then they can't sleep
What
at
if
night.
somebody's really close to retirement and they're saying, I'm a 90, and you're like,
We have that happen.
Yeah.
We do.
We have that happen, and we sit down and tell them, that's great, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to bring you down somewhere between where you should be, 60 and 90, which will put you at 70, 75. And they usually agree with that.
Yeah, because we explain why, our
Yeah.
reasoning behind it. We're not just saying, no, we don't want to listen to you. We're explaining why. You're not going to have the asset accumulation and say they're retiring in 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're aggressive. So we have to make it more conservative as they get closer to retirement because of that.
Now, if they go and say, listen, here's $100,000. This is for my grandkids. I don't need the money. and it's for their school, and they're only 5 and 6, then obviously we can make a growth portfolio out of that for them.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends what's going on and where they need, what their needs are, and things like that. And you know, everything doesn't have to be under one account. You know, you can have separate accounts that are managed differently.
And what we do also that's different than big wirehouses, because we're an independent firm, we can build these portfolios customizable to the client. And that's mainly why we get that risk tolerance, and we can build it.
Okay.
And we can do different things with them, and we can be more dynamic with building the allocation out.
You know what? To me, this whole approach from start to finish is so different than so many advisors that I've seen. And I love that you guys both, you know, you mentioned on a previous show that you had a client, you know, call you and you knew that her whole plan before you really even reviewed things. It's really nice to know that if somebody like me were to call in, you'd say, how are your kids? And, you know, did so-and-so get into college? Like, it makes you feel because there's such a human element behind it. It's not just about the money. The money is there to provide, you know, a life that we all...
Well, my thinking is everyone that has money needs someone, or they do it themselves. They either do it themselves or they want someone to do it. So if we go up against other people, it could be our competitiveness and coaching and everything else, I believe we have a great chance that they're going to like what we present to them with our knowledge, our experience, how we're different, and what we do.
It's also a lot of customer service, because we are one house, one building. Doesn't have branches all over the country and everything like that. We don't have a call center you got to call in. So you just call our office. More often than not, one of us are going to answer, or one of our assistants or sales managers are going to answer on the second ring. It's not going to sit there where you have to go from one person at a wirehouse to another call center to this and that for different things. We can answer your questions.
Look, to actually get a human being on the other end of the phone is such a rare thing these days.
I will not have a computer answering service.
All the time.
As long as I'm in charge.
Have you noticed all these websites don't put phone numbers anymore? It's chat with us, email with us, and you have to search a second-party website just to find a person to talk to. So this is a real blessing. But I want to make sure everybody has that phone number. It's 520-544-4909, or you can scan the QR on the bottom of the screen. If you call on a weekend and no one answers, please do leave us a message and someone will get right back with you. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we come back and talk more about your fabulous viewer questions, so stay with us.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Hello and welcome back to Money Matters. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg of Greenberg Financial Group. I want to talk about your role. You know, your dad obviously has been doing this a long time. When did you start?
I started in the mid-'80s, but I started a company here in Tucson in 1988.
Okay, and you're, you know, doing this all on your lonesome. You know, this is a true American dream startup. And then how proud are you, I'm sure, to bring your son in? And I'd just love to talk about the role that you play.
Well, you're always proud of them, your kids. But I'm not going to deny the fact that Dylan and I had a couple of the first years of father-son. How are we going to mesh? How are we going to get together? How do we talk to each other? You know, how do we get through? You know, I'm not trying to put you down while you're yelling at me, you know. But we promised each other we would always work it through. It's like a marriage. You know what I mean? And you got to sit down and talk through all the problems.
If that wasn't the case, then you wouldn't be family. And that's
Right.
that's just what it is.
Exactly.
But team. I wanted a team. And what better person to get than a guy that you know is a total team player?
So what do you think are his strengths versus, you know, yours? Like, what do you love to deal with? What are the things your dad doesn't love to deal with? That
I do more of the detail stuff. He's right now, I mean, he's
Big
the
picture.
president, so he's the big picture
Big
guy.
picture.
So I do more of the day in and day out things that he doesn't want to do.
But I did those.
I
What do
know
you think
you did,
did
but
them?
now I do.
I started doing that. Now I don't have to do them. It's like when you have your own bathroom in your office. You made it.
Well, I think this is what makes you guys so different, though, because when someone comes in to meet, they probably are they meeting with both of you at the same time? Or are they?
No, they meet with. They usually meet with Todd and Dylan,
Okay.
or one of those two and another advisor. We always have two advisors that meet with the person because you pick up different things from talking, and then the person has two people to call in. Like the other day, somebody called in for Todd. He wasn't there. Was Dylan there? No. But then I was able to talk to him for 20 minutes and answer everything, and they were shocked that I knew everything about the account. And I said, well, that's our team approach. We all talk about it. We oversee it. I know what's going on. It's my input, but I want them to implement it, and that's how the team works.
I mean, I know, like, I've been in this business for 5 years, but throughout the whole time, especially when he started, it was you're an advisor, you're a single advisor. You got your clients. You might have somebody that works in the same office as you, but they have their clients.
Okay.
And you deal with them. And then a few years ago, when I joined up, people left or whatever, and what we started doing was looking at the difference of it. And what do we like to do? We're team players. He was coached teams his whole life. I'm an offensive lineman. He was an offensive lineman. All 5 offensive linemen have to work together in order for it to be successful. So that's how he started changing the whole approach of how he ran his business. And it's been working a lot better because that's just naturally who we are. And that's why we work well together, because that's who we are.
You say you were 5 years, but you've been around this for 15 years.
Yeah, but I'm just technically back.
Yeah.
You've been
in Arizona
investing,
for
you've been
5.
doing stuff for 15 years, but you weren't licensed for 15 years.
No, I was just doing my own thing. But
What I really want to know is what if you get a client who hates football? Like, what happens then?
We don't talk about it.
it doesn't get brought up. Yeah.
I mean, there's people that like soccer. We kid around and we move on. Yeah.
How football gets brought up is if they ask, really. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we're football people.
But there's nobody that finds out that he played football at University of Kentucky that goes, oh, that's a terrible thing. You know what I'm saying? Whether they like, some people say, oh, I don't like sports. Okay, that's fine. We do. And, I guess I won't give you any basketball or football tickets.
Well, do you think we have time for a viewer question?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we do.
I thought this was a great question. My friends and family are telling me to pay down all debt before retirement. What is your philosophy on that?
It depends what debt it is. I mean, I know a lot of the thought is that you want to pay off your house before you retire, because then you have no house payment. But also, if you refinanced a couple of years ago and you got a 2-3% interest rate, it's going to be really low, and you can use different money to put into the markets, and on average earn roughly 5, 6, whatever it is. On average, you'll earn more than 3% if you're in just even like a balanced fund. So you can think about it that way, but also it's the idea that you don't want that payment.
Well, not all debt is bad debt.
Not all debt is bad debt, but then if you have a credit card debt, that's bad debt. You need to get that paid down before you do anything. So then, because right now these APRs are roughly 26, 27%, and you're just getting hit on them every month, and it's harder and harder to pay off. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the savings going down recently, credit card debt going up because it's hard to pay off because of these APRs. So that would be debt you want to pay down. Housing debt's just different philosophies.
Yeah.
Different. It's emotional in that sense. It's like Social Security in a sense.
Well, I have a family member who was retiring and purchased a home 2 years ago when interest rates were really good, or maybe it was 3 years ago. And we really wanted her to get a mortgage, and she's 83, and she said, I haven't had a mortgage in so long. And I'm like, her rate was less than 3%.
Right.
I said, you can make more than this in the market. Why would you not do that? I mean, she was just terrified. So I think there's a mentality, depending sort of on your generation also.
Exactly.
But I get it, too, that people want to have no debt. They feel so comfortable. They don't have any payments. They can live on whatever they're bringing in and not have to ever worry about it.
I'd like to meet those people. I'm very jealous. With 4 kids,
You're not even there yet. You still have kids. This happens after your kids are gone.
I know. My daughter just got her license, so another car and another payment.
More debt.
Don't forget, the car's the cheap part. It's the insurance.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But if you get good grades, you get a break. So.
There you go.
And then they get in a little bit of a fender bender, and then boom, through the roof.
Let's be positive, okay? Okay, I really do. Before we get to more viewer questions, I really do want to walk everybody through what the process is like. I know people are sitting, on the other side on their sofa or wherever they're sitting watching, and they're thinking, I haven't had these types of conversations before. I may be retiring in 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, but if you've never had these types of conversations, it's the time now to do it and taking the intimidation factor off the table, right? So they call, just walk us through quickly, like how does that process work when we give you a call?
Yeah, so you call us up, and then what we do is the first meeting is the financial planning meeting. We create your financial plan. So that's really an information gathering planning meeting, and we go through initially what your outlook could look like. And if we need to change anything, sometimes there's a little more details, so we do that on the back end, and we'll send you the plan, and it's all free, it's all complimentary, we'll send it to you. And then after that, we'll give you the risk tolerance questionnaire, get your risk tolerance number, and then we build our proposal off of that. And that's the second meeting, is we want to build a portfolio outlook of how it would look if you were, say, conservative investor, aggressive investor, whatever it might be, balanced. That's how we build the portfolio, and that's what the second meeting is looking like, is say, we'll show you what your portfolio would look like if you were to open an account with us.
And then we tweak it if there's some things that change. Well, I don't like this, I like that. And then we all get together, you know, and there'll be two of them all the time. And like I said, and then I'll come in and talk to them, or Dave will come in and talk to them, and then we'll go from there. But then the money management, once it comes over to us, we all do it together. They're liaisons with it, but Dave and I oversee it. I look at everything, and we talk about it, and they're learning how to manage money with our, you know, with our 40 years each experience, you know, and it works great. So they keep asking a lot of questions, and before they ever do anything, and then we agree or not agree, and then we go from there.
And then say they do end up wanting to move forward and open an account and start working with us, then we move the accounts over, and then we start building the portfolio.
Okay.
And we're in touch with you the entire time while we're doing it. Make sure you're on the same page and everything like that. And then we want to give it like roughly 6 months or so to make sure everything's going as it is, and if you're still comfortable with it in 6 months. So if we need to tweak anything at that point, it's never set in stone.
Well, and our lives are constantly changing, right? I mean, you know, childbirth, death of a spouse, family members.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many things.
Everything
Especially if you're,
changes.
yeah, and especially if you're younger with the financial plan, we suggest you do it once a year, because you could have a new kid. You could get a huge raise out of nowhere, and then you need to see how will this affect going forward.
Absolutely. Well, and we've talked about this before, but you know, just since the pandemic, I feel like so many people's lives have changed so much that it's almost more so now important to keep up with things.
And everyone's doesn't have one advisor. We're all advisors. We have, you know, somebody you might talk to back and forth, but as a team, you're working with 3 or 4 of us, all working on your same account.
I love it. Well, you know what? To me, this is a no-brainer. There is literally no reason to not pick up that phone and give us a call and find out whether you are on the right path. Because if you're not, wouldn't you like to know now so that you can enjoy your retirement? The golden years, they call them, for a reason, right? I mean, the sun is shining right now. So let's figure it out together. That number is 520-544-4909. Thank you both for taking the time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on your road to retirement. We hope we'll see you on the next one.